Hello, everyone. Welcome again. This is Damon Cureton, Senior Journalist for XR Today. Once again, we're bringing you the latest and greatest from the VR, AR, and XR industries. And we're going to speak to someone really unique and personable with the solutions that her company is creating. It's Emma Ridderstad. She is the CEO and co-founder of Warpin Reality. So thanks for coming on today, and it's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
All right. Brilliant. So we've come across a lot of different companies that are creating metaverse experiences for big brands. So could you tell us a little bit about Warpin Reality and what it does?
Okay, so Warpin Reality is an immersive tech company that works with primarily education and training for big corporations. So in the bottom, we have our own software developed platform that we're using to scale and deploy training for big corporations. But we also do some augmented reality because we know that those two technologies will be both as crucial going forward. So we have all our development in-house. We work with different brands, everything from Disney to H&M to Swedish Postal Service and municipalities here. Everyone that can benefit from where this technology is at the moment.
Brilliant. Yeah, and these are some very interesting types of businesses, companies that have seen quite a bit of a rise over the last few years. We've spoken to companies like Journey and others that are like Magnopus as well, who are creating these experiences that are very much needed in the industry to create the proliferation of VR use cases, XR use cases, AR use cases as well. So yeah, wonderful. We'll get right into the conversation. The first question I'd like to ask you about is what is your assessment of the XR industry, especially with a lot of the changes, the layoffs, some of the product delays that you have seen personally?
Well, I think if we take a little bigger perspective of the whole industry, we've been talking about when Metaverse came into the mass media, and we were talking about Metaverse last year, and now this year it's artificial intelligence, maybe, who knows? From a bigger perspective, we need all the different technologies to build the next generation of the internet or the metaverse, right? So everything that's happening right now it's work in progress. The metaverse or the next generation won't just be working. It's going to be a work in progress. So I think that we will see a lot of different really we're going into the different technologies that are building this new space for us, and we need to learn more about them. So I think that that's why we're really talking about the different technologies one by one to make sure that people understand and can see what these technologies can do. But for me, it's the whole picture of them all that's going to build this. So, I mean, what's happening right now, we're seeing the first downfall. We've seen it with virtual and augmented reality before, and it's going to go up and down, I think, for the upcoming years. But what's very interesting to talk about right now is what we're facing as humanity and what we're facing with this world that we're living in and all the problems that we're facing and how we can use the technology to solve some of these problems and not only look at the bright and shiny new things that technology can give us, but to look at the business models behind it or how we can work with the technologies to solve these problems. So I think that we're just seeing the beginning of this technological shift that we're going through.
Absolutely. We've seen a lot of ups and downs in the industry, especially with Meta. Everyone kind of gave Meta, oh, they're the vanguard of the metaverse. And when Meta hit its stumbles, then everyone said, oh, the metaverse is dead, and threw their hands up and wrung them in disdain. So I think it's very, very premature. Just like maybe Meta may have, prematurely estimated when the metaverse would develop. People especially prematurely estimated that the metaverse would fall off the map, when in fact we're seeing the exact opposite.
And I mean, I think it's interesting because it's like this old tech truth, right? In the beginning, we always overestimate with shiny new things. And in the long term, we always underestimate. So we need to see this as a transition into these technologies. And it's not going to be a straight line, I can tell you. I don't think so, no.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that brings us to our next question that we've seen. We've seen some developments with Apple where they've had quite a few setbacks over the last few years with the development of their mixed reality headset, as well as their AR glasses that they were supposed to release. So, do you think that the most recent developments across the markets have affected Apple, maybe to make these decisions?
Well, I think that they are probably affected by, everything that's happening around the world. I would say that they are probably also affected by the supply chains for, with different components. So there can be things like that everyone is struggling with at the moment. So, I mean, of course, also Apple is known for their quality, right? And they're known for giving out products that are ready to use. So I'm also, this is a new type of technology for them, I think, as well. So, of course, they're going to wait until they have a product that is ready to go to market, I would say.
Yeah, definitely true. And one of the things I one of the things I discussed in previous analyses was that they want to make sure that they get their product spot on before releasing it to the public,
Yes,
because any kind of discrepancies for an enterprise product is going to create
yes.
long-term knock-on effects for their business, and so they don't want their reputation ruined by creating a subpar product.
I agree, and I think it's important to take that into account when we're looking at the existing market. If we're looking at, Magic Leap and HoloLens, they all have challenges at the moment. And, of course, these headsets are truly important for the industry because we need to start working with them and see how we can use the technology for the greater good of humanity in general. But so we're going to learn through these headsets. But, we're going to laugh about these headsets in a couple of years, just like we did with the brick phones that we're laughing about now. So, I mean, we're going through the same transformation in history that we have been through before. So I think it's almost amazing that people keep forgetting that we have done this before. People were appalled here in Sweden when we went from one TV channel to two TV channels. It was a big media frenzy here saying like how are we our brains are going to manage. So I mean, of course the technology has gone beyond now, and it's probably moved a bit faster than with our brains to function in the same speed. But so it's going very fast, but we will definitely laugh at these headsets that are going to come out. But my bet is that, and I don't know what you think, but I think that the headset that Apple will release will probably be very stripped down and be very functional in very few experiences and very few functionalities.
And they did actually mention that they were going to divide their processes into two different products,
Yeah.
one being the high tier mixed reality headset, and the second one being the kind of mid tier for the consumers. So that's something I guess they decided to switch over until AR becomes more readily adopted.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, that actually makes me segue into another question. For example, the proprietary software that Apple normally has, there's always been a thing about Apple is not Windows. Windows has a greater market share. And so how would Apple's proprietary software or, solutions help them to build interoperability for these types of headsets?
Well, I think, given the massive size of Apple's developer community, I think that their assets will be, a net asset because if you compare the community of the XR developers, the Apple developers is so much bigger. So I think that, there will be a lot of companies being able to build really good experiences on what Apple is going to release. Is my bet, but I don't know. What do you think?
Right. Yeah. Well, there are some things I thought about with I think it's the Reality OS that they were creating. If there's no interoperability between different platforms, maybe like Android, for example, which a lot of
Yeah.
headsets are built on Android, or if they cannot create certain standards with the hardware that they actually make, then it could present problems later down the road. So maybe this is something they're thinking about. We can't create closed box systems anymore if we want to build interoperability for the metaverse.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that that is one of the crucial things to, why everyone, I think, is this industry is going for that direction, because it opens up the market in a whole new way, right? And it gives us a whole new play field. Again, I would say, which I think is very interesting as well, to see what's happening from these big tech giants.
absolutely. And we've seen a lot of them, they have, this is an emerging technology. It requires a lot of research and development. And Meta's kind of been the first company to experience that based on the use case that they've developed for their technology. So, for example, they poured 10 billion using Reality Labs funding to create these devices. It's not going to give an automatic return on investment. So this is another thing that a lot of companies are faced with. We're not making stable profits for the first time in years because we're creating new products which haven't been fully market tested.
That's so true. And I think that that is something that we all have to keep in the back of our heads when we're entering this market, because as all technology, it takes a while to build the business models behind it, right? But it's such a great opportunity right now, where we are in the history of humanity, where we're facing this, maybe the last technological big leap, right? And if we can really affect how we can build this, I think it's amazing if we can make more people really be passionate about the metaverse or the Web 3.0.
Absolutely. And, that brings me to another point. We talk about AR smart glasses. Like, have you had a chance to try any of these in recent years?
The AR smart glasses?
Like any kinds of like AR smart glass devices, like
yes, like HoloLens, Magic Leap, or
yeah.
Yes, we were actually one of the first developers for Magic Leap in Europe. So we've been working with them for many years, and so we have been working and building. We built the first fashion experience on the Magic Leap, for example. And so we've been working with all of them. We're hardware agnostic because we feel like, to your point, that the hardware is going to develop in a fast speed going forward. So we're focusing on the software, making that easy to follow into the next, what do you say, next degree, the next versions of the headsets.
Yeah.
So yes, I've tried both the first Magic Leap and the second Magic Leap and the HoloLens.
Yeah. I think it was at the Immerse Global Summit in Miami. There was a few product demos of the MetaQuest Pro, the Magic Leap 2, and I saw a tremendous difference between the Quest 2 and the Quest Pro. Also, the Magic Leap 2 is quite a phenomenal product, I think.
It is. And I think that, and I think that this is the reason why we also need to bring out products and just try them also. Because one thing that I noticed is that Magic Leap had before the field of view like this, right? And of course, we as humans, our behavior is to look up and down. So just that change, just such a big difference for the experience, because you're working with the body and you're not working horizontally in the same way. So all of these small changes that we're seeing will just get better and better and better. So for me, the building of all of these types of products, I think it's wonderfully interesting to discuss all the technical issues. But I'm also very passionate about the philosophical questions that comes with the metaverse and the Web 3.0. So I think those two go hand in hand, which I think is very interesting also.
Absolutely. And I was going to ask you, like, say, for example, you receive a product demo of the new Apple headset. We're looking a few months into the future if that actually gets released at that time. You're one of the first beta testers of it. What kinds of things would you expect this headset to do compared to other ones?
Well, hard. If there was an end consumer headset, I would probably expect really simple experiences like showing the way where I'm going, for example, maybe. or gaming and social. But I think since they're probably pivoting towards business to business or enterprise, they will probably go the same way as maybe HoloLens or Magic Leap, which means that they will probably go towards maybe education or communication and the work that we're sharing between companies. Because, you know, what we're seeing right now is that all of these different technologies that are building the metaverse are very immature, but they are still solving a lot of the great different hurdles that we're facing as companies as well. Digital twins or virtual reality for training, for example, or, you know, getting people together even though you can't meet in the real world and so forth. So, you know, we will see that type, I think, of experiences. But who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll also see how they develop kind of the hardware agnostic kind of properties. Will people be able to put
Yes.
their, their apps on there, the APIs that they tend to use, the kinds of softwares that they would use for like remote guidance
Yeah.
and other things like that.
Yeah, and also, I mean, you know, maybe what they will use with their other hardware, how they will connect that. I think that that would also be very interesting to see if we can experience some new sound experiences or something completely new that we haven't seen before.
Absolutely. Well, great. Like, I wanted to ask you, were there any other things that you'd like to, speak about before we wrap up for today? Like anything about Warpin Reality, updates about the company, or what you would expect from Apple's headset?
No, not really. I just want to make sure that a lot of people are enthusiastic and see the potential of these new technologies because it can really change and shape our future going forward. So I would just encourage more people from different areas and different industries to have a look in these different technologies in general. I think we need it.
Absolutely. And I think that, once we get a closer look at what the metaverse is doing behind the scenes, we'll look less at one or two companies to drive everything or the narrative on it.
Yeah,
And we'll be able to see that there is a thriving ecosystem being developed right underneath.
exactly.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for the conversation. I appreciate it. Once again, we've been speaking to Emma Ridderstad. She is CEO and co-founder of Warpin Reality. Once again, my name is Stefan Cureton, senior journalist for XR Today. If you'd like to follow more conversations like this, please follow us at the XR News hashtag at Twitter and LinkedIn. Thanks so much for joining us on this Happy Friday. Go get some sun out. It's a nice day today, and see you next time.